All right, internet, happy Wednesday. Welcome to the live stream. The former world number 11 in the world, Sam Querrey,
Sam Querrey, yeah.
Sam, what's going on, man? How we doing? We're gonna give people some time to trickle in here. Technology,
Yeah, no, I am good. Is that a Bjorn Borg, John McEnroe photo behind you guys?
Yeah, you like that?
Yeah, it's
I like that.
Classic, right?
I gotta give you a tour.
I
gotta give you a tour of this wall. I have the ability to move this camera with my phone. It's technology. It's very exciting. We got people trickling in here, guys. We're gonna get started in just a second. Check this one out, Sam. If this thing will load up.
This is there. Oh, there we go. That's pretty cool.
That's our favorite. Agassi. We'll give you a little tour of the wall here.
Got the hair, the jumpsuit.
After today, we're gonna have to get you up here, dude.
That's right.
Yeah, those guys are a lot better than me, but I'll gladly go on your wall.
I bet far less fun to interview though.
That's right.
We've got the one behind me, the USTA. I'm assuming they only do it for Americans. When you retire, like the US Open, like makes this for you.
Oh, that's awesome. That's like a gift from the USTA.
Yeah, I guess USTA, maybe it's more from the US Open, but they're kind of one and the same. But I've seen some of the other American players do something similar. They'll take like your best moments from all the years you played it and like give this to you.
That's sick.
Yeah, if they did that for me and Nate, it would be like a boys 14s tournament in Virginia Beach, Virginia.
I don't have the fancy camera, but that one, the ATP Tour gives you that when you win your first title.
There you go. We have none of those on our walls. That's why we put photos of other people on our walls. It must be nice to be able to have yourself on your wall.
It's not, yeah, but it also feels like pretentious, kind of. When people come over, they're like, why is there 50 photos of yourself?
That's accomplishments,
that was really good. Do you not know who I am?
Did you not turn the TV on ever?
I've taken a lot of things down and like put them in the garage and replaced them with family photos.
That's funny. My wife does the same exact thing. I'm like, I have like 2 accomplishments. Where'd they go? And she's like, no one cares.
Yeah. Bathroom's fine. All right. I think we get this party started. People are going to keep trickling in, I'm sure. We're streaming this on both YouTube and Facebook, and we'll explain how this party is going to work, folks. But first, Nate, you want to give our man Sam a proper introduction here?
Yeah, so our guest of honor today, Sam Querrey, former world number 11, 10 singles titles. My man has taken down the best in the world. Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, Andy Murray reached the semifinals of Wimbledon, just to name a few accolades. I'm sure the list goes on and on. And now a successful model. And
we're going to cover that. Don't worry.
All right.
Sam, thanks for coming on, man. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah, of course. Well, look, I'm going to explain for everybody who's watching how this is going to work. So we're definitely going to spend some time. You guys, if you're watching, probably know me and Nate. We are going to ask all the wildly inappropriate questions that you would expect us to. Once we get through with our interrogation, we'll then open it up to folks. If you're watching us on YouTube or Facebook, you can just comment. If Sam likes your question, then he's going to answer it. If not, sorry about you. But also, if you're a big Sam fan, we're going to tell you a little bit about something we're doing in Indian Wells together with Sam here on Sunday, March 9th. So if you're going to be out in Indian Wells and you're a big Sam fan, make sure you pay attention at the end, because we're going to talk about something pretty cool where you can actually get out there, hit some balls with him, return his serve or not return his serve, probably is what will happen. But we'll chat a little bit about that towards the end of the call. All right, Sam, you ready to get canceled?
I'm ready.
Rachel says, come closer.
Come closer. All right.
Not that close.
All right, let's kick this off with a bang. Give us your best story from your tennis career on tour.
Okay, best story from my career. So this isn't about like my career. This is just like a funny moment that happened probably 12 to 15 years ago. It was in Cincinnati. Cincinnati everyone used to play pranks on each other in Cincinnati for whatever reason. And so this was a prank that Roddick actually played on Federer. In the training room, there was like a hardwire phone. And so one of the days Andy was in there and he took like a little like whipped cream and like put it on the end of the phone that you put on your ear. And when Federer walked in, he kind of went, Roger, the phone's for you. Like someone's on the other line. And Roger kind of took the bait and got like the phone and hello. and like no one's there and puts it down. But then he had whipped cream all over his ear, and everyone was kind of laughing at Roger. But it made it so funny because like Roger is such like an elegant person, and you're like, who would like? It's gutsy to even like make a joke or like do this to Roger, but he was such a sport about it. But it's like a story that like even the guys still kind of talk about now, like 15 years later. And like Roger laughed about it the entire week, which made it funny too. But it was always kind of seeing him like in this like vulnerable, funny position was amazing.
Yeah, because he's like the guy that, I mean, like Djokovic wouldn't even impersonate him. Like he was like kind of the untouchable guy on tour, right?
That's what it was. He was untouchable, and to Roddick's credit, he made him. He just pulled a prank on him, and then to Roger's credit, super cool about it. Laughed about it with everyone as well.
So any word, did Roger ever get him back? Was there ever a rebuttal?
He didn't strike me as the rebuttal type of dude.
No.
If he did, like I don't know about it.
He beat him in every final they played.
Yeah, I'm gonna say jokes on you. Just beat the brakes off of him. For the rest
jokes on him when Federer was like probably 25-3 against Roddick or something in career matches.
That's awesome. I think you're gonna like this one. So I'm gonna share a little image here. Let's chat about this for a second. So what we really would like to know is talk to us a little bit about this series of events. Yeah, the modeling career, man. This is
So on the left, so what we're not seeing is Genie Bouchard, who I'm good. We played tennis forever. We're now playing pickleball, like good friends. She put out 4 different photos or 3 photos in a video. That is one of them. There was a couple others of her raking leaves.
Are these the other ones by chance?
Those are the other ones. You got them. And so I saw those. And I'm like, what? Like who's like raking leaves in this outfit? Like who does that? And so for whatever reason, like instantly I thought of like, what if I do the same thing and kind of mock that and replicate it? It would look so ridiculous. And so I got the idea. I mean, this is honestly like on a Wednesday night or a Wednesday morning. I want to say, I was like, I'm going to do this right now. And so my wife was actually out of town. So I had to call my buddy to come over. I'm like, can you come over and take a few photos of me in the morning, like before work?
Lamb shoot in the backyard.
Yeah. I mean, you got her technique down and everything, not necessarily the technique you used to rake leaves. But
oh yeah, and like behind me on my photo, that's where I keep like my trash cans at my house. But we were remodeling or redoing our backyard at the time, so there was like there was like 8 workers in the yard too, like staring at me. It was so embarrassing, honestly, doing these photos. But then posted them, and I didn't let Jeannie know. I just did it and tagged her, and then like she wrote me, she's like, "Oh my god!" Like she loved it. But she said, like, all of a sudden her phone kept blowing up and people were like, have you seen the internet? Like, did you see what Sam did? And so, yeah, I just like mocked it. But like, it was honestly, it was so funny. Like everyone loved it. It had a moment there for like 2 days. And I haven't done it. Anytime she does any other photos now, people like want me to replicate it. But like, I'm just never going to do anything that good again.
Well, so and also you're not a DJ. You don't take requests. I mean,
exactly. If there's a moment or the time is right, I'll know it, and I may do it. That's what I like. She doesn't know. Anytime she posts something now, she's got to be worried about me making fun of her and replicating it.
Keep her on pins and needles.
It's going to be tough to beat that one, though. Yeah.
It's going to be so tough to beat that.
Oh, man. I love it, dude. Thanks for being such a good sport. All right, so look, we got to talk. We've already got comments in here in the comments section. Talk to us about the Nothing Major podcast. So look, I love it. I listen in. I saw this segment on you guys picking out some of the hottest guys on tour, which I thought was hilarious. But talk to us about like, how did that get started? How did that come about?
So that started, I think we just recorded, I want to say episode 30 or so, which is 30 weeks. We go once a week. So it's been a little over half a year. Nice. The idea probably started 3 months prior to that. Kind of started, honestly, like me and John Isner and Steve Johnson. Jack Sock's in it with us too. Like we're all retired from tennis. And so Stevie and John and I were kind of talking one day like, oh, we should start a podcast. And we had briefly talked about it almost in passing, like, oh, it'd be fun, but never acted on it. And so then finally a day came, we're like, let's do it. Let's get Jack too. He's retired. And let's actually do a podcast, a tennis podcast, but make it fun. and go all in on it. Like before we even started, it was all right. It's every week, but everyone needs to show up every week. I don't care if you're traveling and that's 4 a.m., you need to be there. Like you need to travel with your equipment. You need to get a new computer. We got the nice microphone, the 4K camera. We have a team that helps us with the editing, writing out the rundown of the show, social things like that. So that's how it kind of started. Did episode 1. Now we're on episode 30, and it's you guys have heard it. It's a tennis podcast, but it's a little more lighthearted. I think Andy Roddick has a popular podcast, as many as you know. He's maybe a little more of the ins and outs of the tour, going to talk coaching changes, things like that. We're also going to hint on that, but we're also going to do a little more random segments. Like you just said, last week we just did a whole thing on like, who are the hottest guys on tour? We'll do interviews and ask kind of maybe not even tennis questions, but more like outside the box questions. And we banter with each other a bunch, and it's really fun. We're loving it. Like we've got great feedback, and all 4 of us, like to our credits, we've committed to it. Everyone's there pretty much every week. Occasionally a guy might not be there because they're flying or they've got an obligation, but it's going well. We love it. We definitely want to keep doing it. And I feel like when I'm at tournaments, like I was in Delray Beach last week, the players are listening. I feel like we're starting to get players that actually want to come on our podcast, which is pretty cool.
That's awesome.
And you're kind of I'm obviously a fan of the show, so I've been tuning in. You're the guy. So like you're recruiting the talent and getting everybody to come in. I saw you got Stan come on, Stan Wawrinka. So it's kind of.
I am grinding for the guests. I'll say that. Like everyone reaches out for guests. Not to knock my other pod members, they're like my best friends. Not every guest, but one guest. And that's honestly just me like writing people and they're like in like DMs on Instagram. Some of them I have their phone number, but most I don't. So I get, for every person that comes on, I'm getting like 15 no's from other players, or maybe not, or just like no one, or they don't reply.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It's kind of the fun part. I'm like a salesman, right? With this. So it's getting easier though. The more we grow, the bigger we get. Like, we had Wawrinka on, Ons Jabeur, Taylor Fritz. It's like the better players we get on, the more, I guess, credit we have, and it's like easier for us to get some other players on.
I gotta believe it's going to start to almost be an honor to be on there. I mean, once you get the start, you get a Fed or a Joker on there, and then everybody's going to be begging you to come on, right?
I mean, of course, we want those guys. We're waiting till it grows a little bit, because when you throw out the ass to one of those guys, you want the yes. You don't want them to be like, look, you guys aren't big enough, because they're gonna go on a podcast that's big or a show that's big,
right?
So, but we're not far off. I do think we're gonna get them in the next 6 months.
Yeah, the stuff y'all are doing. I mean, just amongst yourself. I mean, you played Stevie at pickleball. That was, what was that, for $1,000 or something?
It was for $1,000, and then also the loser, which was Stevie. He has to reach out and try to invite 5 guests that the other 3 of us get to pick. So we can kind of pick some fun people, and he's got to go out on a limb and go out of the comfort zone and pick them. But yeah, we're also, it's like the Nothing Major. We actually thought about it. We call it the Nothing Major show now. But we're also going to try to do a ton more on YouTube, like the match with me and Stevie. We might try to do the 4 of us and do a doubles match on YouTube, golf. But we're going to try to do a lot more things. Hopefully do live shows at tournaments in the near future, retreats where people can we've got one coming up I think we're about to advertise it soon in Tucson. People come in for 3 days, play pickleball with us, tennis with us, dinner, maybe watch maybe not record a live podcast, but almost just like we'll do a private podcast or private show for everyone. So yeah, it's got a bunch of avenues, and we're really excited.
That's cool. Great, man. Congrats on the success. It's really fun to watch.
Before we move on from the podcast, our most important question: if the 4 of you guys from the podcast were locked in a room and had to fight to the death, who do you think would win?
Gosh, that's such a good one.
What a scenario! I think it's a scenario that they're like, "Hey, sorry guys, can't leave the room.
Only one of you leaves.
Who comes out alive?" I think Stevie.
Really?
He's pretty strong. He was like kind of a gym rat. We're in the we're playing. He's pretty powerful. I feel like he just seems like he could be a good fighter if he wants to be.
You and John though, like
height,
adults, size.
we're tall, but we're like too lengthy, and like I my arms and John's arms are not like powerful. I just feel like the height, like it's almost too tall.
I just have a vision of like cartoons where you're just like holding his head and he can't like swing at you.
Yeah. But like I feel like if you go to UFC and stuff, like I don't know, I've never seen like a 6'7", 6'9", 6'10", like
Fair point.
great UFC fighter. I don't know. That's a good. Maybe we'll put that to the test one day.
Yeah, outside of pickleball fight, maybe not to the death, but
Yeah, whoever just walks out.
See you endorse it.
Yeah.
All right, let's move right along here. And guys, keep asking your questions below. We see them. Ian, I see your question for sure. Actually, you know what? I might as well throw this. I'll throw this up. So, Sam, one of the questions that I had was, tell us about your favorite tournament and why it's Indian Wells, because the nest is in proximity. And so Ian, our buddy from Essential Tennis, said, what is the best strategy for winning at the nest?
Yeah, that's a great question.
That was clearly the answer. But
yeah, so for those who don't know, Indian Wells, the great Master Series event, which is coming up in about a month, there's a bar like in Indian Wells about 2-3 miles from the venue called the Nest. I would say the average age is probably like 75 years old. It definitely caters to the.
It's 18 to 70. It's like
during the Indian Wells week, you get a little bit of everyone.
Yeah.
But it's just like I'm not saying it's a ratchet bar, but it's like a fun bar line out front during the weeks of Indian Wells. It gets packed and they've got live music in there, and you'll see players in there. I haven't been in there in years, but maybe going back to my like single days, you would go in there, you'll see players. And it's really fun. If you get a chance to check out the Nest in Indian Wells when you're at the tournament, just go check it out. I promise you'll have a good time.
Yeah.
It's an experience, to say the least. I mean, it's
like the bar from Star Wars. It is people from all ages, all walks of life. It's a time. I got pulled in from the back of the line, because you know how like your traditional club, like pretty girls get to cut the line and guys have to wait. We got pulled in as like the fresh meat for the Cougars.
There, yeah. We didn't know what was happening.
No, and you hit it right, like Scott. It's 18 to 80. The age range in there is wild.
But when we got pulled in, it was like 9 o'clock at night, and the only demographic in there was 70s. Like 75 plus, and only women. And they're dancing, and there's a live band, and we're like, we're getting to cut the line. Like, what's going on here? And we realized everybody that we're cutting is actually women.
Yeah, we were cougar bait
there, and it was all of a sudden, it was like we're dancing with women that could be our grandmothers. It was incredible. And then a short time later, I mean, all of a sudden midnight hits. Why we were there that long, I don't know. All of a sudden Tiafo and Curios, Born a Chork, they're like passing around bottles of Belvedere. It's gotten really, really young.
Just for that, like 10 days though, it's young.
Yeah. I would
it's about 2 hours that it's young.
Yeah.
Man, you will see players in there if you go during the tournament.
100%. All right. Well, our original question here that's a little more serious. We got to ask you something serious here before we let the fans fire at you. Tell us what your favorite tournament is and why.
Favorite tournament. So I'm gonna give two. My favorite tournament is Wimbledon. And that's because it's Wimbledon. It's like the Masters in golf. If I could win one tournament, it's Wimbledon. I feel like around the world, more people know Wimbledon than the French Open, the US Open, the Australian Open. If I go to my next door neighbor who knows nothing about tennis, I'm like, do you know what Wimbledon is? Yes. If I say, do you know what the Australian Open is? They honestly might not know. The US Open, well, there's a US Open for like a lot of things. So you have to say US Open tennis. So I feel like Wimbledon is just the biggest tennis event we have. And when you go to those grounds, they are just perfect. The ivy growing along the stadiums, the ground you walk on is bricks. And each morning there's people like, with these little like things like in between the bricks, cleaning them out. So it like looks perfect.
Pristine.
It's one of the few tournaments. Wimbledon's like a city about 20 miles outside of London. There's not really any hotels. So players actually, you rent out people's homes and apartments around the area for the month, and you stay there. So you kind of get a break from hotels, and you get to stay like in a house and have a normal bedroom and living room and kitchen. And there's something about walking on the grass and wearing the all white that it just feels so historical and fun. So Wimbledon is in my opinion, the best tournament. Take out the Grand Slams. We just talked about it. Indian Wells is the best tournament.
Yep.
And it's also been voted best tournament by the players for probably 15 straight years.
Has it really?
Yeah. The players vote on tournaments. The venue is amazing. You know, the second stadium court now has those beautiful restaurants that you can watch from and watch matches. And all the areas that the fans can't see, like the locker room, the player dining, things like that, is upgraded every year. And it's just awesome. And it's so beautiful, the surrounding location too. So that's Wimbledon best tournament, Indian Wells right below it.
So in Wimbledon, I mean, one of your best results, the semifinals of Wimbledon, also took out Novak Djokovic. So I mean,
some fond memories there.
At that point, Novak had won 4 slams in a row. You stopped.
He won 3. He was going for 4.
Got it. Okay, and then he met you.
Yeah, he had won the U.S. Open. He had won the Australian Open. He had won the French Open. If he had won Wimbledon that year, he would have held all 4, I believe.
So what is that like going into that match where the guy at that point is just almost unbeatable, and then there you are. You have one of the best matches. I remember watching that match and being like, Sam's going to win this match. He serve, forehand, everything just working. What was it like?
You go into it. I don't think you actually believe you're going to win. I think sometimes people lie when they say, like, oh, I'm ranked 50. I mean, I was ranked high. You know, I was probably ranked 25 at the time going into that match. He's ranked 1. I don't think we're like, yeah, I believe I can win. Like, probably didn't believe I can win. But you do get a little confidence as you get going. I always say when you're like a big underdog, it's so important to get games early. So it's like 1-all, 2-all, 3-all, 4-all. Like, I'm holding serve and staying in it, and I'm just getting like a little confidence with every game that I'm kind of holding. And then I won the first set in a tiebreaker. And grass was my favorite surface. I had success at Wimbledon before. It wasn't like out of the blue. Won the first set 7-6. And that's when I kind of like clicked on the confidence and the belief where it was like, all right, I could hang with this guy. I just proved it. Won the next set 6-1. He kind of went away a little bit for whatever reason in that second set. Then the match was called for darkness. And so I remember going home that night with a 2-sets-to-love lead on Novak. And almost my family was with me, and they almost didn't talk to me, almost like a baseball pitcher who's throwing it like a shutout, you know? Like, let's not address the elephant in the room that you're up 2-sets-to-love on Novak at Wimbledon. And go back out the next day, I lose the third set 6-4 pretty easily. And I remember thinking again, like, oh, all right, this was fun. Like, I probably will lose in 5. Like, it was cool, though, to have that 2-sets-to-love lead. And then fourth set, he served for the set, and I broke him to go to 5-all. And then got in a tiebreaker in the fourth set. And then all the pressure is on him, right? Because I'm an underdog. And I ended up, there was a couple of rain delays during that too. Then I ended up beating him in that 4-set tiebreaker to win the match. And that was when people ask me what's like my favorite match, my biggest win, it's that match at Wimbledon against Novak, because he was number 1 in the world and going for all the titles.
Yeah, I mean, it was funny. I was coaching at the time, and when you got the break, like, everyone's watching the TVs around the club and everything. And then we took the kids that we were working with. Everybody came around, huddled around, and watched it. And it was momentous. I just remember being like, an American just took out the guy that just didn't look like he was ever going to lose. It was pretty awesome to watch, man.
I could sense it. Like, not only like the stadium wanted me to win, like they were kind of cheering they wanted the upset, and you could sense like outside the stadium, like around the grounds, like I can't see what's going on, but you can like almost feel an aura around there. Like, people are watching. Like, I know at the time, I know the locker room is watching. Like, it's like time stands still in that 4-set tiebreaker. Like, is this guy going to win this and pull the upset? And I was able to do it, but it was a cool moment.
Wow.
That's incredible, man. Well, yeah, congrats on a fantastic career, but we wouldn't be Scott and Nate if we didn't ask you about the other side. So that's I think hands down your greatest win. Talk to us about like the most heart-wrenching loss, or the one that just stuck with you the longest.
I was actually pretty good with, if I had tough losses, about moving on rather quickly. If the one loss that maybe hurt the most was the 2017 quarterfinal at the U.S. Open. I played Kevin Anderson. And Kevin was very good. Kevin was maybe like 4 or 5 in the world at the time. As you guys, he finaled the U.S. Open, finaled Wimbledon. But going into that quarterfinal match, we played a night match. We knew the winner was going to play Pablo Carreño Busta in the semifinals, who's a great player, don't get me wrong. But it's not every day you play Pablo Carreño Busta in like the semifinals of your home slam.
Yeah,
in
right.
2017, I was playing well. I was maybe ranked at the time 12, 13. Kevin's 4 or 5, but it's a toss-up, man. We went 8-8 in our career, and I lost that match in like a tight 4-setter, like a 7-5, 6-7, 6-4, 7-6. But you just knew in the back of your mind, like, if I win this, there was zero chance I was going to lose to Carreño Busta in the semifinals. Absolutely zero chance. So it almost felt like both of us were playing for a final at that moment. We both knew it. But again, it's not a match I feel like I let slip away by any means. Kevin was so good and so talented, such a big game. He beat me on that night. But that's probably the one loss that stings the most.
Just because of what could have been when you got past him, right?
Exactly, for that reason. If Djokovic or Federer was looming on the other side, like, all right, it's a little different. But when you've got that like reward on the other side of, I feel like I'm just bashing Pablo Carreño Busta right now, who's like really good player.
But no, to your point,
He had his number. I mean,
Monfils and Tsonga were doing an interview, and they kind of made the point where they're talking about just how difficult it is to win the big tournaments, where they're like, all right, cool. Like, you get to the semis and you've got Novak, Rafa, or Roger. And then if you happen to win, then you've got, one of the other big 4 waiting for you, and just how difficult it was to get through, not just one, but multiple of those guys. So yeah, you see Boots in the semifinals, you're like, I mean, what are the chances?
It's certainly better than Nadal or a Fed, right? I mean,
totally. Yeah. One year I lost to Nadal in the quarters of Wimbledon. Had I won, it was to play Roger, and then you win that to play Novak, like you're saying.
Yeah.
One of the other years, the year that I made semis of Wimbledon, like I beat Murray in the quarters, which was great. Then I actually got to play Silic in the semis, which was another kind of opportunity. But then that's to play Roger in the final. But yeah, you usually had to go through at least 2 of the big 3, sometimes all 3.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Why don't we ask you one more question, then we'll tag in some fans here, because there's quite a few questions building up in here. We probably won't have time to get to all of them, but we will try to get as many as we can. Last question we've got for you: favorite and least favorite thing about pickleball. So obviously, legendary tennis career. You've made this transition over to the pickle universe. Talk to us about pickleball. Least favorite thing. Most favorite thing. What do you got going on there?
My most favorite thing is it's fun. Like I've been playing. I started playing before the whole pickleball craze, like a couple years ago. I was playing 6-7 years ago casually with buddies. We didn't know the ins and outs and all the strategy and stuff. But yeah, the thing that I like the most is it's fun. It's mostly doubles or mixed doubles. It's 4 people, and because you're in such close quarters on the court, there's like constant banter and talk the whole time, which I actually like. And, a lot of times when you go play, because the court's smaller, you might play someone, a lot of friends or people around here, or at least where I live, they could put a pickleball court in their house. So it's just like a different mindset. Going to the tournaments right now when I'm playing the pro ones, I find it fun. But I find it fun because I feel like I don't have much pressure. It's like a second act for me. I had my tennis career, so I'm going into pickleball, and every match is enjoyable. Win or lose, I have a good time. Or maybe if I was 24 years old and was like I'm just starting my pickleball career, I'd be like more stressed about winning matches. I don't feel that in pickleball, which is nice. The part that I dislike the most is how good everyone has gotten in the last like 2 months.
Yeah.
When I first stepped into pickleball, like competitively, like a little over 2 years ago, there was maybe like 25 to 30 like good male players and 25 to 30 good female players. There's like 500 now. Like everyone is good. Everyone has got like they've hopped on board. They're riding the wave. Like they've got sponsors and money and signing contracts. And good tennis players are leaving tennis and going over to pickleball, and they're so good. So these draws are so competitive now. It's like hard for players like me to like win matches because like the level is so high at pro pickleball.
I got to ask in pickleball, fans won't appreciate this, but are you ever like, you're like, yeah, if comparing it to golf, are you ever like, yeah, I was a top PGA Tour player,
No, I'm
and,
playing
and
putt-putt.
now we're battling to see who's the best at putt-putt? Like, do you ever feel
I mean,
that way?
yes, I'll say this: it's easy as a tennis player. It's easy to get good at pickleball. It's really hard to get great. Like that last 10% is really hard. All those top players that are doing that right now, just like anyone who's great at whatever they do, they are practicing 5-6 days a week, 10 hours a day, traveling to all these tournaments. They're perfecting their craft, and almost more pickleball compared to tennis. Tennis is way more physical. Like I think everyone would say that. Like to go out there and you got to play 4-hour matches in tennis. Your cardio has to be at a high level. Your strength maybe has to be a little more than pickleball. But the pickleball players are skilled. It's more like a game of chess, the way they work the ball around the court and kind of where you position your body and that the creativity you have to master at the net. So it's a different skill, I think, than tennis.
How many of the guys at the top of pickleball come from a non-tennis background? Seems like a lot of the collegiate guys have kind of gone into.
I would less than 5%. I think 95% of the pickleball players came from either a tennis background, ping pong background, squash, badminton, something like that. I guess I would say less than 5% came from a non-racket sport.
Yeah, so
maybe
pickleball
maybe 2%. There's I know like 2 people off the top of my head.
So pickleball is not typically the first racket sport for anybody, it seems like.
No, but I think it will be going forward. I think starting now, you're going to have a lot of 8, 9, 10-year-olds that like start with pickleball, but like the crop of players right now that are 19, 20, 21, 22, like pickleball really wasn't an option for them 12, 15 years ago when they were little. But starting now, I think we're going to see a lot more players where pickleball is the option for them at a young age.
They're teaching it in PE now.
Yeah, it's certainly more acceptable too. I mean, it's easy to find folks to play with. It's easier to just play in general. Like I remember as a little kid, tennis is hard. Like
It's hard.
we haven't had.
When we go to Indian Wells, we typically get a house with a pickleball court, and we all have some beers and play, and it's a ton of fun. But it's a great equalizer too, where it's like guys on our team, the Play Your Court team, that don't play pickleball, they can't get out and hit tennis balls with us, but we can all get out and play pickleball and have a lot of fun.
That's the beauty. It's the easiest game in the world. Everyone can play it.
100%. All right. Well, look, we want to get into some fan questions here. We are going to save a segment of rapid fire questions at the end from Nate Dogg. But before I get into that, so for those of you who are watching, I have a feeling a large majority of you watching are Sam super fans. So I want to let you know about this and how to attend. So me, Nate Dogg here, and Sam are going to be doing a little 2-hour workshop at an Indian Wells together on Sunday, March 9th from 10:30 to 12:30. Just going to be some instruction from Sam, one of the greatest to ever play the game. You're going to have the chance to try and return Sam's serve. Sam, how fast? I actually saw this question from one of our players. We should have researched this, but what was your fastest serve ever recorded? Do you know off the top of your head?
Fastest serve ever recorded for me was 144 in Indianapolis. I'll say I'm pumped for the serve clinic. I can't hit it that fast anymore. I could probably still hit 130. I think. I want to say like a year ago, I did like a little serve challenge with Isner and Fritz and Tiafo. Fritz won it. It was purely based on speed, but I think I tapped out at like 129.
It's massive.
It's still quite quick. So
yeah. I still have a good serve.
So yeah, we'll be at an Indian Wells with Sam again Sunday, March 9th. Some instruction. You'll get to play against Sam, return his serve. We'll do a live Q&A there where you can ask even more inappropriate questions than me and Nate are asking here.
It won't be recorded.
That's right. Yeah, exactly, because it won't be on the internet living anywhere. Yeah. And then, obviously Sam will give you some autograph swag there at the end. The way you're going to sign up for that, because we decided to put this together relatively last minute, all you're going to do is you're going to DM me personally on Instagram. My Instagram, I'll just share my handle on the screen here for a second. It is Scott_Baxter_official. And I will actually be the person that you're going to chat with about this. I'll just share this so you guys can see what you're looking for. My face. Right here, Scott_Baxter_official. Look for that pale guy with the suave haircut. So send me a DM if you want to attend. I'll tell you more about it. Without further ado, I think let's get into some fan questions. Sam, you good with that?
Yeah, let's go.
All right, let's see here. This is actually a really good question. So from Kathy, and Kathy, by the way, also says, love, love, love the Nothing Major podcast. Keep it going. So
Yeah.
Kathy appears to be a big fan, as we all are, of the podcast. She asked, when do players have to pay for their accommodations and other travel expenses for tournaments? Is it based on ranking? So for those of us who aren't on the pro tour, just understanding, like, when you reach a certain level, does the expense sort of universe change? Like, what does that look like as a pro player?
So as a pro player, you're paying your own expenses is like kind of the basic answer. Besides hotel, every player, you're guaranteed a hotel at a tournament for the week, for 7 days. If you lose first round on Monday, you have your tournament paid for, one room for the entire length of the tournament. Once you get, you're paying your own flight and everything there as well. You're paying for your own food at night. Although the tournaments have food, you could probably eat, you have lunch at the tournaments most of the time. You can't have dinner there late, but most players will go out to dinner. You can, outside of, not at the majors or the grand slams, but the other tournaments, a lot of players will get appearance fees. And, a appearance fee, you might get paid money, plus they'll give you 3 hotel rooms. And sometimes they might say, hey, we'll cover your flight as well. For your coach and your physio and your team. But generally speaking, for the players that aren't getting appearance fees, for the ATP player ranked 50 in the world, you have 1 free hotel room. Everything else you are paying for.
It's tough, man. They talk about tennis being like one of the most impossible sports to turn pro at, just because you have to be able to afford to turn pro at it, like afford to try. It sounds like that rings truer than ever.
Yes, exactly. That's the toughest part, is as a player, you're paying your own expenses. If you're a professional athlete in baseball, basketball, football, the organization is paying the head coach, the travel, all that stuff. You are responsible for paying your coach, paying the physio, paying the travel for everyone. So yeah, your expenses are high when it comes to that side of things.
Just because we're on the topic already, Angie asked, how much did it cost you to get to the top 1,000, top 100, top 20, et cetera? So just like, what type of output to sort of get to where you could afford all this?
Yeah, it's a tough question. Top 1,000. I mean, in America where we live, there's enough futures and challengers, lower level tournaments, that if I wanted to when I was younger, I could have driven to, literally spent no money, and won some matches and got in the top 1,000. To get into the top 100, how much did it cost? It's hard to put a figure on that. But let's just say you're 100 in the world. Like, you would have had a tennis coach that you're paying for. Sometimes if you're ranked 200-300, working your way up to the top 100, you might have one coach that you split with the player. You got to pay a top 100. You've got travel expenses and flights. Oh, coach, I would say to get into the top 100 in a given year leading up to it, you probably got to spend $25,000 in expenses on a low end. A lot. You can be savvy with it, play tournaments closer to your home, try to split a coach, eat as many meals at the tournament as opposed to out. But also, if you get to the top 100, if you're ranked 100, let's say, in your main draw of all the majors, you're going to be making $750,000 in prize money during the year at a ranking of 100. So it's not like that guy's not, or player's not crying poor by any means.
Right. Yeah, that's not as bad as I thought. I had thought if you were like outside of the top 120, you were borderline break even, but it sounds like it's maybe not quite that bad.
No, I'd have to look right now, but look, let's say you're ranked 125 and you qualify at the Australian Open and you qualify at the French Open. That's basically $200,000 right there.
Yep.
But your expenses are high again at that level. Like, you've got a coach, you're flying to Australia, you're flying to 25 weeks a year all over, but hopefully prize money keeps increasing for these players.
Yeah, let's hope so.
100%. All right, moving along here, we've got the question, what's something that separates a top 50 guy from a top 10 guy that isn't talent or strokes, like fitness, mental toughness, training style, or even how they schedule their tournaments? So just kind of, what's the differentiator that gets you from that top 50 guy to that top 10 guy?
I feel like there's a few different answers there. One would just be like raw talent, and my example would be like Ben Shelton. You just watch him move around the court, how loose his arm is, how explosive his movement is. He can hit forehands just as hard as anyone on tour. He's coached well. He works hard. He does all that. But like, he's also got a little bit of that like raw talent that he's just born with. And so a guy like that can get into the, he's close to the top 10. You know, he's like ranked 13 or something. The other is like a guy that is just consistent. Yeah, consistency week in, week out. Like my example, Alex Deminar. He might not have that game that's going to beat Alcaraz in center, but I feel like when you watch Deminar, he shows up every week. He's consistent. He's constantly making quarterfinals, semifinals, winning a few 250s. He's in the top 10. The guys that are top 50, they're obviously amazing players, but a lot of times they might just be missing something, whether it's that mentality to lock in week after week after week, or maybe they don't have like a big weapon that helps them get out of trouble at times. But that's such the question's tough to answer. It's such a case by case scenario, but I do feel like the guys in the top 10, if I had to give one word, it's consistency for the most part. Like they just bring a certain level and a certain focus to all 23 tournaments they play during the year, where the guys maybe outside the top 50, they just lack a certain focus, or maybe they don't have some of the skills that some of the guys in the top 10 have, and they just don't bring it week in, week out.
So you got to eat, sleep, and breathe, it sounds like.
So along those lines, Sam, we had talked about, you know, you had beaten Rafa, Novak, Murray, but Federer. Never got Federer. What was the difference with Roger and the rest of the guys?
Roger, even though Roger, Rafa, Novak, I know Novak's with the stats is probably the best ever. You know, let's just say they're all the three greatest. It still felt like when you played Roger, there was like a different aura around him, and he was beloved more than the other two. Didn't matter where you played him in the world. Like Roger was a bigger superstar than Novak and Rafa anywhere in the world. And so you were always just, at least for me, I was always uncomfortable playing him. Like before the match started, you know, you'd only play him on a center court too. So I played him center court Wimbledon, center court French Open, center court Miami. I played him at the Laver Cup. Every time, like when you walked on the court, he would have this like the crowd was for him. They loved him. They loved seeing him. So you were just nervous and you were uncomfortable before the match started, knowing everyone wanted him to win. And then as far as like game style went, his game matched up really well with my game. He was able to kind of block my serve back, bring me to the net on his terms. And ultimately I could never get comfortable playing him. I played him 5 times. I never got more than 4 games in a set against him. Or beat Rafa, beat Murray, beat Novak. And a lot of times, even when I lost to those other guys, I would win a set or I'd lose sets close. But Roger, I was never able to get comfortable against him on a tennis court.
It's got to be tough where you're like, everyone's rooting for Roger. You're like, hey, I'm a nice guy. I'm a good guy. Like,
and I was rooting for Roger. You walk on the court, I'm like, I want Roger to win. Like,
brainwash. Maybe that's why it was so good. It's just everybody brainwashed.
Yeah, exactly.
Angie asked something that I feel like is pertinent because you were just talking about kind of like how you felt uncomfortable playing against Roger. What about against other folks? I mean, obviously there's always a big crowd watching you play on the Pro Tour. So the question that Angie said she's curious about, distracting to play on a court with a big crowd, or were you more focused on yourself and it was a non-issue?
It's honestly less distraction, a big crowd, because you just have the consistency of the big crowd and all the people, and sometimes like just a little bit of like white noise almost of the chit chat, where if you played on a court with no one, you know, one fan talking loudly could distract you, or one thing catches your eye, where it was actually way better to play on a big court. One, because I almost felt like nothing bothered me. And then 2, it was always way more fun to play in a court with a big crowd. Whether the crowd was for you or against you, you just wanted to play in front of a lot of people that were passionate one way or the other. So I wouldn't say it was necessarily focused on yourself, but a big crowd, I feel like, brought the best out of your game because you wanted to perform for the big audience.
Cool.
can you relate to that? Playing in front of tens of people?
I played Kalamazoo. There was like 30 people watching.
They were watching the court next to you. They were
I mean, I was, you know. I like this. A query for query.
Yeah, bonus point for Michael.
That's right. Most surprising, strange retirement obsession for you and the other nothing major guys
Trying to I don't have
outside of
I don't know the
pickleball.
other guys, their obsession. I mean, Jack Sock plays pickleball full time and he's like unbelievable at it. So like that's kind of his life obsession. Steve Johnson, for a lot that don't know, excellent baker. The guy's like always baking cinnamon rolls and stuff. Like he's a good baker.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, Isner has 4 kids. They're like 5 and under, so like he has no time to have an obsession. You know, I'm doing the pod broadcasting. I would say everyone's like a little bit more into golf. Such a typical answer, but no one, like all 4 of us, no one has like that weird obsession, like, oh, like he knits all day long or he's painting or something. Like maybe in the future, but yeah, there's nothing at the moment that anyone's taken up that would be a strange obsession.
All right, that's a disappointing answer. You should have made something up. Nate, the thing that Nate
level of arithmetic.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm actually raising pigs in the backyard.
What's that?
I'm raising pigs in the backyard, and
yeah, there you go. Let's go with that. We're gonna just cut that segment and use that for the answer to that question. If that's all right. Can I ask this? I guess I can ask this. Jay Adams says, do you think the Saudis are serious about upending tennis as they did in golf? Also, is it time to redo the established tennis establishment? Establishments of establishments.
The redundant.
Yeah, well, first I'm going to say this. I don't think the Saudis wanted to upend golf. I just think they wanted to have a competitive rival league, and maybe they might merge. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. I don't know. I'll say I think the Saudis are serious about tennis, serious about not only bringing tennis but other massive sport events to Saudi Arabia, the women's finals in Saudi Arabia, the next gen finals in Saudi Arabia. I've heard rumors of a Master Series going there soon. We see the rankings or the PIF, the investment fund, are a massive sponsor of the rankings. So yes, I think the Saudis are serious about getting into tennis. I honestly don't think they're going into it saying oh, I hope we can create a rival league and upend the ATP tour and end it. I think they want to get involved. To what extent that is, I don't know. I don't know if they want to try to partner, try to bring more tournaments there. What I do think is Saudi Arabia, it seems like they love bringing superstars to their country, whether that's soccer, tennis, golf, UFC. I think they're very interested in bringing tennis players. The best ones are global superstars. Sinner, Alcaraz, Sabalenka, Coco Gauff. I think they're interested in getting those group of players in their country more and more.
It's interesting. That's a good insight. Yeah, because I wasn't particularly well versed on what was going on with. I knew the Saudis wanted into tennis, but that's
yeah. And I'm not well versed either. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes and what the end game is, what they talk to the tour, what's said. That is what I just said is purely just kind of what I think.
Yeah. I mean, to your point though, golf was just PGA and nothing else. It's a rivalry and competition, sometimes the best thing because it gets the best out of a particular sport. So I think it's been great for golf. I don't know what your thoughts are there, but
I think it's been awesome for golf. I watched live. The purses in the PGA have gone way up. There's great drama. If that all happens in tennis, home run.
It hooks the golfers up too. So Mark Leishman, if you follow pro golf, is actually from Virginia Beach and a good buddy of ours. And he's actually able to spend some time with his family, right? Because he's got a guaranteed purse and can bow out of playing every event you feel like you've got to play to make the income. So I thought that was kind of a nice change. I would love to see that brought to tennis based on what we've talked about earlier. It's just so hard to make a living there. It seems like if you're outside of the top 150.
You guys see the change at the U.S. Open this year for the mixed doubles?
We were just talking about that.
I'm so pumped. I'm so jealous and mad that I didn't get to do it, but I'm also very excited for everyone that gets to play it this year.
Yeah. So you want to tell in 30 seconds or less, tell our audience. I mean, it was a headline as of
So the mixed doubles of the U.S. Open this year will be played the week prior to the event during the qualifying week. I think it'll be 2 days long. It'll be 16 teams, 8 teams of which are in on their combined ranking. 8 teams are wild card teams. And this is the part that's unclear. It's $1 million purse. So I don't think that's $1 million to the winner, but there's $1 million purse. I don't know how they're divvying it up, but the headline grabs you with the $1 million purse.
Right.
So I do think that they're going to get some top team, whether that's Sinner and Sabalenka, or Badosa and Tsitsipas. Ben Shelton plays with Emma Navarro because they're there anyway, practicing the week before. It's a short, I think it sets to 4, 2 out of 3 sets to 4, shortened format. And regardless if it works or doesn't work, I love that they're trying it, because the mixed doubles was kind of a waste of time. No one's into it. They never got top players. I'm a fan in sports, just like we're talking with the Saudi thing. Just try new things, see if it sticks, see what happens. So I'm pumped for this.
Yeah, it's I mean, instead of it just being a distraction, now it's like, I mean, it seems like a lot of pros on tour will play doubles as like a warm up, or just kind of, now it just seems like it's a great way to tune up for the singles, because the rest of the tournament's not running. It'll be exciting to see it. To your point, I think, I mean, if you get some of the top singles players pairing up, that's a lot of fun to watch.
Oh, it'll be awesome. And that quali week of the U.S. Open is packed with fans now. Like they'll sell out Ash Stadium if they get some top 10 singles players playing mixed doubles.
100%. And I got to believe the U.S. Open and the USGA is going to love that, because that's just another week of, like, it's probably a bit harder to get folks there that week already. That should help considerably.
Yeah.
So
last year for quali week, I don't know the number. It was packed. I was there. It was packed every day. It's free for fans. And also this week, the U.S. Open starts on a Sunday. They're getting another day of play for TV and tickets. Yeah.
Doubling down.
Don't feel bad for the U.S. Open, the USTA, of like not being able to get people into the venue.
I think they're probably doing just fine.
They're going to be fine.
All right. We will have a hard stop here at 1 p.m. Eastern time, just to be respectful of Sam's time. But we've got a few more questions here that we can get through. We won't get to everybody's, so at this point we're playing favorites. Very sorry, but this is a very good one, I think. So, do you have any advice for young tennis players who want to pursue a professional career?
Oh, I get asked this question a lot. I don't know how young you're talking. I mean, if you're like 8, don't like go all in on tennis and like pursue a professional career at 8. If you're 16, it's a little different. But I think a broad kind of answer for that is, if you're like a young junior tennis player, you're 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. If you love tennis and you like playing, you like going to practice, going to tournaments, just play, see what happens. If it's fun, I'm like a big fun guy. If it's fun and you're enjoying it, like, it shouldn't be stressful at that age. You should be going to the tournaments, hanging out with your friends, working on your game, not being so focused on results. I know that's hard to do. Everyone wants to win. I don't care if you're 12 years old or 22 or 32. And just kind of naturally follow a path. Don't get so caught up in, I think a lot of times, maybe more so parents, but kids too, like, oh, I'm losing a lot, or I need to go to this tournament and this tournament. If you're good enough and just you work hard at home and do the right things and enjoying yourself and you want to be a pro, go for it. If it doesn't work, there's nothing wrong with that. You did what you loved and you had fun doing it. And then on the flip side, if you're like 13, 14, 15 and like you don't even want to be a pro tennis player, but you're still playing, you don't like it, like, honestly, I quit. Like, go find another sport or another activity to do. Like, you also shouldn't do something that you don't enjoy, especially for a young player. If you're not enjoying it, like, go find something that you enjoy. Because I feel like ultimately, if you're enjoying what you're doing, playing tennis, whether you want to be a pro player, a college player, a recreational player, it should just be fun and enjoyment. And like, you should have a lot of enjoyment from it. And that's, I mean, tough answer to give, but that's kind of how I see it.
I like that. Did your parents push you at all into playing tennis? Or like, how did you get started? How did you go from beginner to pro level tennis player?
I played all sports growing up: football, baseball, basketball, tennis. I was naturally just kind of the best at tennis. And like, maybe I want to say it like, I played all those sports till I was probably 14. And then from 14 on, just did tennis. Parents didn't push me. They were big though on effort, whether that was tennis or baseball or schoolwork or whatever I was doing. Give a good effort. If my mom or dad was going to drive me down to a tennis tournament on the weekend, they wanted to make sure I was trying hard. Could care less about wins or losses. But as long as I was happy and giving a good effort, that's all they cared about.
Reasonable expectation as a parent. I've got a
you can control effort. You can't control results.
Exactly. All right. Well, I think that's all the time we're going to have for questions from the fans, because we've got to cap this off with the rapid fire.
Yeah. So, Sam, we're going to try to knock this out in a minute or less.
And then we'll get maybe one or two more quesquestions for fans. Then we might have some time for a few more.
So, rapid fire questions and answer. Are you ready, sir?
Let's see. Let's go.
All right. Number 1, favorite band or musician right now?
Morgan Wallen.
Okay,
Yeah.
there you go.
All right.
Favorite
I
player?
used to not be a country guy. I made a change. Like, I don't know. My wife's kind of like from rural Florida, so she's in country. I made a change like 10 years ago. I like it.
Yeah, there you go. Favorite player to watch on tour currently?
Oh, João Fonseca.
Yeah, it's
He's like my favorite player.
Love it.
yeah, guy's gonna be a superstar. Player you wish you had played that you did not.
Agassi. One time I was in the draw with Agassi. The 2006 U.S. Open was his last tournament, and it was my first tournament. The only time we were in the draw together, I would have loved to have been able to play Andre.
Andre, the man. Last meal on earth. What is it?
Wow.
Um,
After
Probably
you
like-
lost the fight to Stevie with the nothing major guys, the fight to the death. What do you have?
like really good sushi.
Oh, there you go.
There we go.
I love that.
Yeah.
Some Nobu at Indian Wells.
Yeah.
There we go. Kendrick or Drake?
Drake. I don't like everyone's on this bandwagon for Kendrick. They're forgetting that Drake gave us like 12 good years in a row of just like mainstream hits.
Okay.
I like Kendrick Lamar too, but it's not close. On who's the bigger superstar.
I like you went with a very unpopular answer, Betsy.
I know. I'm not following the masses and jumping on this Kendrick bandwagon.
You're not secretly Canadian, are you, Sam?
No, but I just said Drake fan. Everyone's lying. People are lying to you if they say they like Kendrick more.
Fair enough. All right, so even
We're tagging Drake in this video.
a bigger question: Rolling Stones or the Beatles?
I've never listened to either of them.
Kendrick is the answer to that. Drake.
Yeah, Kendrick over them.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so you play Genie in pickleball. Who wins?
Not modeling, pickleball.
Straight up.
Modeling.
Straight up pickleball singles.
All right, so I tore my Achilles 9 months ago. Right now, no, me right now, still. Me.
Get her.
Yeah.
You heard it here. All right, LeBron or Jordan?
Jordan.
Oh,
If you
for
had said LeBron, I was going to end the live stream.
Yeah, Jordan.
It's Jordan. Everyone knows it's Jordan. Least favorite player on tour?
Least favorite player on tour. Early on, I'm gonna switch. Early on, it was Adrian Manarino. Not because I didn't like him. I just he beat me every time we played. I couldn't figure it out. Then I flipped that and was able to beat him. As far as personality, I'm going back a few years, kind of like my era. There was a guy, Lucas Rosol. I don't remember him.
Yes. Yeah.
He was
Big tattoo on the calf.
Yeah, tattoo on the calf. He was tough to be around.
I think
That's the nicest way I've ever heard anybody. It's just
Yeah.
difficult to hang out with.
Robin Soderling.
Yeah.
Really nice off the court. It's really nice off the court. Nice now. Maybe not the nicest guy back in the day when you were playing.
Yeah, it seems like the two front runners. That I hear.
It's kind of unanimous. It's kind of unanimous.
Current guys, I don't know the current guys as well. It's tough too. Because I actually have some current guys I don't like, but I would still have them on my podcast. So I'm a little hesitant to just back the three guys I don't like.
We'll ask in a couple of years.
Yeah, you got to go back in a couple of years. Or if some of these players that I asked don't come on the podcast that I have, then I'll be sure to come back on basketball.
We'll know because whoever it is, when you have them on the podcast, and you're like, so tell me how many friends you have. We'll be like, oh, that's the guy that he really doesn't like. All right. Last two, surfing or snowboarding?
Snowboarding, but just tall guys don't do that stuff, man. We don't surf or snowboard or rollerblade, ice skate.
You're like sledding.
I haven't done any of that since I was maybe 14, and I just don't plan to.
Okay, fair enough.
Go.
And the last question, maybe the most important: who is the greatest team in the NBA of all time? And then tell me why it's the Celtics.
It's the Lakers, the Shaq Kobe era.
No, Sam.
That backfired on you, didn't
We
it?
were friends, man. Come on.
I'm not a Celtics guy.
Who is your team?
It's the Lakers, but I'm not.
Well, we had to clarify for that.
I'm not super into the NBA right now. Sometimes the guys, I don't like that the guys demand trades and they're moving around. I feel honestly, as a pro athlete, I feel this is an unpopular thing. I feel NBA players have too much leverage.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think?
I actually don't like that. I like the I'm more of an NFL guy. I like a little more loyalty with players and fan bases.
It was a big year.
Players have leverage and make money, but it's like out of control in the NBA.
Do you think you're better or worse with Luka? It's wild, man. That's the craziest trade ever, huh?
Yeah, better. I guess better, but I also don't. Like I said, I'm like not in. I'm not in the NBA right now.
Yeah, fair.
I'm NFL. I love baseball. Love golf.
Golf, the 4-letter word.
The thing that Nate hates the most about me right now is that I'm suddenly liking golf sometimes even more than
I
tennis.
just haven't gotten into it, and now it's like all the guys I play tennis with play golf.
We've abandoned
And
tennis.
it's super annoying because it's like there's only so many like decent dudes to play some tennis with, and now they're all golfers.
Yeah, all the like American guys like Roddick, Fish, Blake, Isner, me, Sox. We all play golf and like all pretty good. It's like we could play golf 5 days a week if we wanted to.
A lot of the same rotational transitions pass right through. It's not the same as pickleball.
A lot of tennis players, a lot of baseball players are really good at golf.
I always wondered this, Sam, how for guys like you, right? Like, do you ever get out and play tennis, or is it just like, I don't know, you know?
I've gotten like more. So when I retired a little over 2 years ago, didn't play that much, but then like the last few months, I've kind of gotten into it. I actually was hitting on the ball machine. I do the men's like 4 or 5 clinic on Tuesday nights at my club. I do the pickleball open clinic too. It's so much fun.
That's great. I was just going to say, it's not like Fred down the street's like, hey, Sam, want to play? And you're like, sounds fun.
I hit with my neighbor up the street. Like we go to my neighbor up the street, him and I hit at another neighbor's house who has a tennis court occasionally too. He's probably like a 4 or 5 as well. Good mover though. But I've been into hitting more lately. I actually played an exhibition over the weekend, me and Tommy Haas versus the Bryan brothers.
Nice.
And then I played Xavier, Melissa and I against the Jensens. Hoping to play Wimbledon Legends this summer. If they're watching this, like I'm waiting for my invite.
Yeah, let's make it happen, Wimby.
Yeah, come on, Wimbledon.
All right. I got invited last year, then I got hurt. I had to pull out. So now I feel like I'm like blacklisted, but I'm hoping.
Oh, you'll get that.
I think I'm gonna get the invite.
Let's start it here. Let's get
everybody share this video when we post this online. We'll cut
a lot of players have already been invited. I just am waiting. I think it's got to work its way down to me, you know.
All right, guys. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. Sam, thank you so much for being so generous with your time, for answering questions. And again, guys, don't forget we are going to be with Sam out in Indian Wells doing a little workshop on Sunday, March 9th. Again, DM me, Scott_Baxter_official. I should come up with a better Instagram handle, but DM me there if you want to jump out there with us. Sam, any parting words for your super fans here?
No, thanks for watching. Like I said, check out this serve. What do we call it? Serve, not a clinic. Serve.
Like a hangout. I mean, we're gonna have some fun.
Really, it's a hangout. It's a 2-hour tennis serve hangout. Anyway, check that out. If you want to listen to the podcast I've got with Stevie, John, and Jack, it's called Nothing Major. But this is fun. I want to do it again.
Thanks, man.
Fantastic,
we appreciate you so
much,
much.
Sam.
Thanks everybody for watching. We'll see you guys soon.